Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome back to my show. Hope everybody had a great New Year's, and to start off, we have yet another giveaway announcement. This time, I'll be giving away count them, five of these Larry Elder Show mugs. And who doesn't want to have a matching mug with me? So make sure you go to winlarry.com right now to enter the giveaway. I'll be announcing the winners this month, January 20th, live on the Larry Elder Show on Epic TV. So be sure not to miss it. Again, that's winlarry.com. Got that? Capiche? And of course, thank you to everybody who signed up for the last giveaway. We love engaging you guys, so please let me know in the comments what you want to see next. Now let's get into today's show, shall we? After 15 rounds of voting, the House Republicans elected a new Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. Reportedly, he agreed to every single demand by the so-called Freedom Caucus that the media referred to as hardliners. Joining me to discuss this is former Ohio Republican Congressman Bob McEwen, who served from 81 to 1993. He is now a lobbyist. Congressman, thank you very much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure to be with you. I run the Council for National Policy, which is a group of conservatives together. It's great to be with you, Larry.
You too. Is the job still worth having, given all the stuff that Kevin McCarthy gave up, Congressman?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, what they asked for was that Congress behave the way it was written and supposed to behave. That is, there are 11 appropriations bills. Some are defense, some are agriculture, some are interior, some are public works. And what has happened is that the Congress, under the leadership of incompetent speakers in recent years, has gotten to the point where they don't do their work. They don't meet, they don't hold hearings, they don't write bills. And at the end of the fiscal year, when it comes time that all of these things should have been done over the course of the year, none of them have been done. And they put it all in one big bill and write the legislation the way they want to, and no other congressman is even allowed to participate. And that's what the Freedom Caucus said, no, we're members of Congress too. And so just 10 days ago, Mr. McCarthy, you allowed Nancy Pelosi to take the entire budget of the country, put it in 4,000 pages, 3 times the size of the Bible, tell us that we should read it overnight, and we're not going to participate in that program anymore. And that's what this was all about. And it's only, all they got was just what a country has had for many, many years.
Congressman, call me naive, but why aren't all the Republicans members of the Freedom Caucus?
Well, that's a very good question. And let me tell you that many good people, conservative leaders like are in the Freedom Caucus have left the Congress. It's very difficult. After you're there for 2 or 3 terms, you recognize that only a handful of people were doing things in the back room. And you say, this isn't worth it, and you've left. And so we have literally over 20 to 25% turnover every 2 years. And that's not good for the country. And so many of the folks have cut their deal. Maybe they got a little bit that they were satisfied with, and so they'll put up with it. But what the Freedom Caucus said, no, this is not the way the country is supposed to operate. And what we should all have our part, bring those appropriations bills, 11 of them. Now, Larry, let me just tell you, if they pass through 11 subcommittees, that's 11 votes. They come out of the committee, that's 11 votes. They come to the floor, that's 11 votes. And they go, the rules that make it possible from the Rules Committee, that's 44 votes right there that should be just at the very minimum, and that Pelosi has put into 1 vote just 10 days ago. So that's what they said, let's don't do this anymore. And I think that just as Paul Ryan was able to do it, Boehner was able to do it, not for the whole budget, but for 60 and 70% of it. And I think maybe that Mr. McCarthy was headed in that direction as well. And he was brought up short, and this is a wonderful, wonderful thing for America.
Congressman, do Americans really care about the national debt? Do they really care about annual deficits? Do they really want a balanced budget? I say this because in 1900, at all 3 levels, government took less than 10% from the American people. Now it takes about 32%. And when you put a value on so-called mandates, it's almost half of what the American people produce that government at all 3 levels take away. Government's gotten bigger under Ronald Reagan. It got bigger under George W. Bush, got bigger under George Herbert Walker Bush. It got bigger under Donald Trump. I repeat my question. Do Americans really care about this stuff?
Well, I don't think that they know the difference. And what we're experiencing at this last moment, in which there's been $1.7 trillion in deficit spending in just this last budget, that is money that is making everything that we purchase is less valuable. So that inflation that does bother them, and they're concerned about it. But the idea that Reagan didn't do anything about it or whatever, the only time you can do it is when you have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And from 1929 until the year 2000, Republicans only did that for 24 months. So they say, well, Reagan was in. Why didn't he get rid of the Department of Education? Well, it's precisely what we just talked about. That is that they never gave him a bill to sign or veto. They put it all in a big package where you had to shut down the government. So we're on the cusp. People are more knowledgeable. People understand what is up. There are some people with steel backbones, and there's people looking over their shoulders. We're on the cusp of really some generational benefits that we've prayed and worked for 20 years are about to take place, in my judgment.
Well, Congressman, the last time government really got smaller, that is to say, President entered, and then when he left, the budget was smaller than when he entered, was Calvin Coolidge. Right now, about half of the federal budget are so-called entitlements programs: Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, throw in Obamacare, and throw in programs for children. Another quarter or so is defense. The rest of it's almost interest on the debt. A small sliver you might be able to call discretionary spending. So given that, how is government going to get smaller?
Well, you're exactly correct. Less than 30% is actually controlled by the people because previous Congresses have promised that if you show up, we'll take care of Medicare, Medicaid. Those are the Great Society programs, and the Department of Education, 10%, and then, of course, Social Security. How do you do it? You freeze it. A growing economy goes off and leaves it in the dust. And you get a growing economy like we had under let me just tell you, under the 4 years of Donald Trump, the stock market in Beijing went down 47%. He wiped half of the wealth of the entire Chinese nation off the face of the earth. And the stock market in America went up 55%. Now, had we continued on that course, this thing can right itself. But as long as you've got these incompetent folks that won't let us drill and bring in people, millions of people every month, then we're going to have a struggle here. We're going to have a budget. Our dollar will decline and we'll lose place in the world. But it's all fixable, brother.
Speaking, Congressman, about the millions of people coming to this country illegally, about 5 million or so under this president. And President Joe Biden is just now going down to the border to find out what happened to the policies that he reversed that's caused the tragedy that's caused him to go down to the border.
Well, he knows that. Let me just tell you, I've been to the border several times. Everybody there, of course, those were all Democrat districts, Democrat mayors, Democrat sheriffs, all the rest. And they explained how they told all during the transition period, they explained to the Biden folks, if you do this, here's what will happen. We will be overrun. Our cities will have the cartels will take little children and they'll use them as vehicles to get in. And then they'll take the children who are all drugged and raped and they'll take them back and use them over again. All the evil things that took place. So Mayorkas and the Department of Homeland Security were not broadsided they knew and they are doing this on purpose. They are adding a city of Dayton, Ohio, every week of illegals. Those are people that came here. And let's make it clear, Larry, people want to say, well, of course people want to come to America. They live in socialist countries. Socialist countries are miserable to live in. Of course they want to escape. But here's the important thing. When you come legally, it's just like renting your home. You're willing to rent your home to someone who wants to come legally and pay the bills. And we're glad to have people from around the world that want to become American. But those aren't people, the doctors, the lawyers, the people who want to own property and start businesses. They're not coming. Why? Because they have to come legally. The people who come illegally, that's what happens when you have a rental property and you don't lock it. And you come back 3 weeks later and you see what happens. They've got drug dens and people have stolen the bathrooms and all that. That's what happens illegally. And those are the people that are coming. These cartels are bringing people that are, Cuba is emptying its asylums and its prisons. Those are the people that are sending, and the Democrat in Congress has absolutely no desire to do anything about it. And I repeat, it's not by accident. They know exactly what they're doing.
Congressman, should Mayorkas be impeached? And if he is, what difference will it make?
Well, that's exactly true. It's what people keep saying, how they want to get rid of Nancy Pelosi. And I said, well, if you looked at that congressional district, her replacement's not going to be any different. Right. And so you can rest assured the same way with Mayorkas. When the Bidens have the capacity to go through the dregs of society, of people that are willing to say and do things that they know are not true, to sabotage and not enforce. They said they wanted to do away with ICE, the enforcement laws. Well, they didn't do away with it. They just don't enforce them. And so they've denuded all of our national border defenses. And you're right. If they get rid of Mayorkas, they can find somebody just as incompetent that the party's full of them. What we need to do is make a change at the election, at the ballot box.
Speaking of the ballot box, let's talk about 2024 briefly. Does Biden run again?
I think he does, yes. And I think that they're very happy. They're in control. The World Economic Forum and the other folks that want to do away with our borders and devalue our currency are happy as a lark to having a brain-dead president at the moment. And so I can see that they would like to continue this program.
Who runs on our side? Full disclosure, I am thinking about running myself. As you know, I ran for governor out here, never having run for office before. But throwing Elder aside for a moment, who do you think will be the standard bearer on our side?
Well, I can't answer that. I do believe that if we can unite, and I think that if you were to run, you would be an excellent candidate. I believe that anyone else that would run would support either you or you would support them. If we are willing to unite behind a candidate, then I think that our country is on the cusp of a tremendous, tremendous upswing. If the only thing that can happen is be 1912, in which we have a former president and a current president running against each other and splitting our vote, and World War I, and we're still paying the price. If we can unite in 2024, I think that regardless, I think there are many, many good quality candidates that could do wonderful things for us.
Last question, Congressman. What's your analysis on why we did not do as well as we thought we were going to do in the House and in the Senate during the midterms?
It's a very good question. There's more than one thing. Part of it is the fact of willingness to identify with a reason to run. Consultants never want you to run for a reason. They always want to just stand for election. And we passed a tax cut in let's take 2018. That we could have run away with that. But Paul Ryan and the others said, no, we don't want to stand for anything. We're just going to stand for election. So when you don't have a reason to vote, like the Democrats gave people a reason to vote, democracy's on the ballot. If you don't give them a reason, then you mess up. Number one. Number two is that as we know about the ballot harvesting, that we strongly disapprove of people going around into nursing homes and elsewhere and collecting ballots. We are focusing on the voter. We were concerned about votes. They're not concerned about votes. They're concerned about ballots and wherever they can find ballots. And so we said, no, sir, we're not going to be a part of that program. We're going to show up on election day, and we're going to make sure we do our best. And so we did show up on election day, and they figured it all out. They got all of their vote ballots in ahead of time. And on election day, in the county in Arizona that has 2/3 of all the votes in the entire state, they had half as many polling machines as they had just 2 years ago, because they said, we know how to work. See, you always know what Democrats are up to. It's whatever they accuse you of. And so when they accuse about voter suppression, we never even thought about voter suppression. But brother, they figured it out. And I know of one precinct in Arizona where at the closing night, when the time was up, there were 750 people in line. And they said, all right, all of you in line can finish. And 600 of them left. Only 150 of them ended up voting. That's the voter suppression. So when you put that together and you see the very narrow losses in Pennsylvania and elsewhere, you understand that we need to go out and get our ballots in ahead of time, just like they do, if we're going to win this thing.
You know, when I ran for governor, I never even mentioned getting ballots in ahead of time. Didn't even bring it up. I assumed our people were going to show up on the last day. We got to get into that game. You're absolutely right. By the way, this business about election denying, I think it also had an effect. Hillary runs around for 4 years referring to Donald Trump as having stolen the election, calling him illegitimate. That's not a problem. Stacey Abrams says that she lost because of voter suppression. That's not a problem. Benny Thompson, the chair of the January 6th committee, in the first week of 2005, tried to overturn the results along with 30 other Democrats of Ohio, claiming that there was a tampering with the voting machine, even though there was no evidence of it. Al Gore to this day will tell you the Supreme Court put George W. Bush in the White House. They have been denying elections for years. Nobody accused them of being election deniers and undermining the foundation of our republic.
And 15 times, every member of the House voted for an election denier to be Speaker of the House, who literally thousands of times denied the legitimate election of 2000, 2004. You're exactly correct, Larry, everyone. They're the deniers. You always know what they're up to. Whatever they accuse you of, they're in that business.
Congressman, do you wish you were back in the House?
Not right now, I don't, but I'm grateful for those who are willing to do it. Let me just respectfully say that I've been a lover of America and American enterprise, and that's why I got involved in government. And when everybody else could name ball players in the 4th and 5th grade, I could name all the U.S. senators. I care about it very deeply. Our Congress has never been, that's Article 1 of the Constitution. Article 1 has never been as ineffective as it has been these last 4 years, never in the history of our nation. It is totally not functioning. And that needs to be corrected. To be a member of Congress is a real frustration. We need to support those people. This next 24 months is critical to our nation.
Congressman Bob McEwen, you sound like you are in mid-season form, sir. Thank you very much for coming on.
Larry, let me make it clear. I'm an abundant fan of yours, and I appreciate all you do. Bless you, brother.
God bless. Thank you. What's this? The great Eldersky has in his baby brown libertarian fingers a pair of MyPillow, my slippers. Yes, I do. And guess what? They come in different colors and they come in different styles. You may not like this color. You may not like that style. He's got other styles. By the way, there are over 100 products. If you call the number on the screen or go to mypillow.com, promo code ELDER, over 100 sleep-related products, including, of course, the vintage MyPillow. Also, they come in different sizes. And don't forget the towels that actually work. These towels are absorbent. You go to some of these stores and they have beautiful towels, but they don't do what they're supposed to do, which is to be absorbent. These are also beautiful. They're also soft. They're also absorbent. And we've got the Giza Dream bedsheet. Now, Giza is an area in Egypt, I've been informed, where the best cotton is grown. Mine is white because, after all, I am the black face of white supremacy, but you're not. You may want a different color and also a different size. Call the number on your screen or go to mypillow.com, promo code ELDER. That's mypillow.com, promo code ELDER. When we come back, did China change its zero tolerance COVID policies because of protests, or was there another reason? Finally, over at CNN, she picked on the wrong Republican.
Your support for McCarthy, there's nothing that can break or shake it at this point?
Well, listen, I don't know if you're aware of, young lady, but I am also a member of the House Freedom Caucus. So I am one of those America First patriots. And I have said to my friends, my colleagues in the Freedom Caucus, that I don't believe that this is the battle we should be waging. I think the real battle starts when we start drafting legislation and policy in the 118th Congress under a Speaker McCarthy. And you have to understand, your viewers have to understand, there's 35 to 40 of us in the House Freedom Caucus. If we have a thin margin of 222 Republicans, it takes 218 of us to pass any legislation, right? The House Freedom Caucus is more relevant than ever. So I believe that is the battle. Those are the conversations that should take place, because Kevin McCarthy understands that in order for him to pass anything in this 118th Congress, he's going to need support and the endorsement from the House Freedom Caucus. And that's when I believe we should have these conversations.
So I'll assume when you called me a young lady, it was a compliment.
Of course it was. This is my first time on the Clinton News Network. Absolutely.
Okay, that I will say was a bit, in my opinion, rude, but I'm glad you're talking to me, and I will treat you with the respect that you deserve.
Sure. She took offense to being called a young lady. This is the same young lady who called George W. Bush a monkey.
Well, Nicolas Sarkozy is in China, which, of course, is also trying to become a financial capital of the world. And in honor of his visit, the Chinese have announced $30 billion of deals. There he is. I mean, who could not have a man crush on that man? I'm not talking about the monkey either. I'm talking about the other one.
Yeah, exactly. What? The monkey? Who's the monkey? What's she talking about?
Wait. Monkey in the middle. All right.
I don't know. What's she talking about? Willie? You know, I think she's still jet lagged.
That's my president. I don't know who she's talking about.
I know she's not talking about
Why are you talking
him.
about Angela Merkel like that? I don't understand. All right.
Yeah, she's attacking Merkel. She's our ally in a time of war.
Now, I don't know about you, but it seems to me calling somebody a monkey is a lot worse than calling somebody a young lady. And speaking of diversity, inclusion, and equity...
You've got to get in. Oh, wait on. I'll just ask this guy. Excuse me, would you mind taking a photo of us?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody say cheese.
Oh, actually, I'm a vegan. Could you please have us say something else?
Okay, everybody say tofu.
Tofu is actually not as good for you as vegans think. Any CrossFitter will tell you that. It's bad for your testosterone levels.
Okay, I'm sorry. How about we all just smile?
Oh, if one more asshole asks me to smile.
Not really an taking a photo for you, so...
What's there to smile about anyway?
Okay, would you like me to just count backwards from 3?
Oh, would you like dyslexic people to just not exist?
My cousin has dyslexia, so offended.
Adopted. Don't even know who my cousins are, so more offended.
How about this? We all put a word we're comfortable with in our heads and I'll get the shot.
No, it doesn't sound very inclusive, though, does it? I suppose you'd like us all to stand a few metres apart, would you, Stalin?
Jesus Christ.
Oh, I don't see what religion has to do with this.
Well, I'm an atheist, so majorly triggered.
Is that a comment on the gun debate? Still trying to control people.
But it's not just the people. Has anyone thought about the animals?
Look, this is what we're going to do. Everybody throw up a peace sign and I'll take a photo.
Wow. Cultural appropriation is alive and well. Why don't you just ask us to say kung fu?
Guess what? New plan. Group selfie. Ready, set, go. Boom. And looks awesome. You're going to love it.
Wait.
Nice to meet you.
Oh. You took it with the front camera, you
Scotty, beam me up.